Yay, we're live. Okay, so I recently had to study for an exam, and there was a lot of information. I was having a really hard time focusing, really struggling to focus on all of the information. So I found a couple things that really worked for me, and I thought I would share because I have not been diagnosed as having ADHD. Although one of the times I was having trouble focusing, I did go and look up what are the symptoms of adult ADHD, and your girl had a bunch of them. But because this exam was coming up, I did not have time to go to a doctor, get a diagnosis, get meds, do all the stuff. And I really don't like to do meds if I don't have to for anything, really. So I had to figure it out for what would work for me. So there were a couple things that I figured out worked and I thought I would share. So the first thing is knowing how I process information. So earlier last this year or at the end of last year, I can't even remember when I started it, but I was going through the process of getting certified as a neuro-linguistic practitioner. And I learned that there are different ways that we all process information. Some people are more kinesthetic, some are more auditory, some are more visual, and some are auditory digital, which is its own breed, an own type. Now, I never knew that growing up, right? You go to school, you learn, everybody's learning the same sort of way. Sometimes it works for some people, sometimes it doesn't. Well, I learned that I am very auditory and very kinesthetic. So, what that means is sometimes I could read the information, in this, it was an online course and it was fine. I got it. But for some stuff, like I would read an entire page of information and nothing. Like I couldn't tell you anything that I had just read. And this used to happen to me a lot when I was in high school. So I was like, all right, let me try this. I already know I am, like I said, partly kinesthetic, partly auditory. So why don't I read it out loud to myself? Maybe hearing it would help. And it helped tremendously. So for the paragraphs where I really was having a hard time just reading it and knowing what it meant, I would actually read it out loud to myself. The same way, like if I was teaching it to somebody else, I would read it to myself. And that helped tremendously. Also, kind of helped pass the time as opposed to me just continuing to try to read the same text over and over again and nothing sticking. So that's number one. I might actually create a whole video on those four different ways to process information because I think it's something that would help a lot of adults, but also a lot of kids who might be struggling to process information. You might wonder, why is one child really, like they really excel in a particular learning environment and another one doesn't? Well, it's probably because one is maybe more visual, one might be more auditory, one might be auditory digital. So, really helpful information to have, whether you're a parent or you're adult, whoever it might be. If you know somebody who's having a hard time processing information the same way everybody else is around them. So, that's something to consider. So, that's number one. Number two is the Pomodoro technique. I might be saying it wrong, but it was super freaking helpful. I actually got this as a suggestion from somebody I follow on Instagram who just found out she was diagnosed with adult ADHD and she's an entrepreneur. So she was saying she used it and I was like, what is that? So I Googled it. Really helpful. Essentially, what you do is you break up your task, especially when you have a lot of tasks, or in my case, a lot of information that you're trying to take in and process. You break it up into chunks. So you will focus, you set a timer for 25 minutes and you focus for that 25 minutes, and then you give yourself a 5 minute break. And I think you do four of the 25-minute ones, and then you're allowed to take a longer break. And by allowed, I mean just give yourself the grace of a longer break. This is not like anybody's actually timing you or watching you except yourself. For some reason, breaking it up into chunks like that made me it's so much easier for me to focus and it was less overwhelming because I could just tell myself, listen, you can put your phone on do not disturb for 25 minutes and not look at anything. Just do it for 25 minutes because and at that, after that, you're going to have a few minutes to check your phone, to go to the bathroom, to grab a snack, whatever. It really helped break up like the mass amount of text that I was having to consume, mass amount of information that I was having to take in. So 10 out of 10 recommend that. And also, if you can go for longer, there were a couple times where I was like, all right, I can go longer than this 25 minutes. Now I got a good groove in. I'm actually interested in this information. I'll go for a little bit longer. But I think the most important part is that, again, you're taking the pressure of, oh my gosh, there's hours and hours and hours worth of stuff to read and to learn. And I have to sit here for the whole time. Just take that off the plate because that in itself, thinking like that creates overwhelm. So you just say, okay, I got 25 minutes or 30 or 40, however long you can focus for or you think you can, and that you can push through to get to that break. And then the other thing that I did, which I've never done and really am glad I tried, was hypnosis. So if you don't know, I'm a trauma-informed breathwork facilitator and clinical hypnotherapist, and I listen to hypnoses, recorded hypnoses every so often, and I thought about it, and I'm like, "I bet I could use a hypnosis, which gives me a suggestion that will help me focus," and sure enough, I did, and my focus, the suggestion that I received in the hypnosis was anytime I need to concentrate to think the words or say the words, narrow down to myself. So that kind of became my thing when I would start to do my Pomodoro method, right? I was going to that 25 to 30 minutes that I was going to focus. I would say narrow down after listening to the hypnosis, and it would actually help me focus. And it's this, if you don't know, hypnosis is really just creating positive suggestions to your giving positive suggestions to your subconscious, right? Now, there were a couple times where I was really having like I just had a really stressful day. I was really having a hard time transitioning from what I've been doing earlier into studying. So I actually would also listen to the hypnosis before studying, and that helped me relax a lot. Like I know there are a lot of people who don't necessarily use hypnosis for the suggestion, but just for the relaxation. Now, I'm also going to say I had to do breath work with the hypnosis. Again, if you're coming from like let's say you've been really really like alert, you've been really busy, it's been really hectic and all of a sudden you're trying to go in to listen to hypnosis, it really helps to do breath work to bring down your energy, not your energy, but to actually focus in and bring down that fight or flight response that you might be in and not even realize it. So, and when I say breath work is a broad umbrella term that refers to all types of breathing techniques. It could be a 5 minute or less technique, or it could be a guided one like I do with some of my clients that's 45 minutes long. I did a short one. I really like, there's two I really like, 478 and box breathing. Box breathing has been shown to actually really help people with ADHD. So again, that was the one I tried. All that is you're breathing in through your nose for 4 counts, holding your breath for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, and then holding your breath again for 4 counts. That creates a box. And then you do, let's say, 5 boxes, and I would do that while or actually right before listening to the hypnosis. And then when I was listening to the hypnosis, I would just focus on to doing deep belly breaths, which also again is just bringing you out of like that hyper state, that hypervigilance and into a state of relaxation. So you're actually receptive to hypnosis. Then when you come down, when you go to focus on whatever it is, whether you're studying for something or you're working on a project, it'll help you focus. Now, I also recently created a reel with a really, really cool technique called 10-20-30. That's really good if you need to like actually increase energy and focus. So let's say you're feeling like really overwhelmed and really stressed, and you're one of the people who, when that happens, like you're in kind of like this state of you're in a honestly, you're in freeze, right? So you're just like not there. You're like scrolling, but you're not even looking at what you're really scrolling and watching on social media. I would suggest in that situation, do 10-20-30. Like I said, I just created a reel that has that. I will also link to it in the description so you can watch that if you want. But yeah, those are three things that really helped me. Like I said, I think that I will probably create a longer video about the auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and auditory digital ways of processing information because I just think that's incredibly informative. And I wish I'd had that information like a decade ago. Really would actually longer than a day. Oh, wow. I just realized how old I am. We can now say 2 decades ago. Okay. Uh, That's humbling. And then also, if you have any questions about hypnosis or breath work and how you can use that to relax for anything that you're focusing on, comment or send me a message. But I hope this helps. I really, again, hope this information helps anybody that's having trouble focusing. I know this time of year, there's so much going on and so many distractions. So use this. Let me know how it works. And thank you.